Imagine millions of Americans flooding the streets. Times Square is completely packed. People are climbing street signs, cars are honking, fireworks are exploding over Manhattan. The White House is glowing red, white, and blue. Inside sports bars, from New York to Los Angeles, complete strangers are hugging each other. Grown adults are crying. And somewhere, standing on a stage under a storm of confetti, Christian Pulisic lifts the FIFA World Cup trophy. For the first time in history, the United States are world champions. How would America react? How would the rest of the world react? And what happens when the country with the biggest sports market on Earth suddenly wins the world's biggest sporting event? Because as impossible as it sounds, it's not impossible. The World Cup is coming to America in 2026, and if the stars aligned, everything could change. Let's be honest. When people talk about winning the World Cup, they talk about Brazil, Argentina, France, Spain, Germany. The United States almost never enters the conversation, and there are good reasons for that. America has never won the Men's World Cup. Their best finish came all the way back in 1930, when they reached the semifinals. Since then, they've had memorable moments. They shocked England in 1950. They hosted the tournament in 1994. They reached the quarterfinals in 2002, but they've never seriously threatened to win the whole thing. In most World Cups, the United States is seen as something else. A dangerous underdog, a team that might pull off an upset, a team that can ruin someone else's tournament. But not a team that's expected to lift the trophy. And honestly, that's exactly why this story is so interesting, because sports don't care about expectations. Sports create moments nobody sees coming, and the World Cup has a habit of producing the impossible. Think about some of the biggest surprises in sports. Leicester City won the Premier League. Greece won Euro 2004. Morocco reached the World Cup semifinals. Nobody predicted those stories, and yet they happened because tournaments are strange. You don't have to be the best team in the world for 10 years. You only have to be the best team for 1 month. And in 2026, the United States will have something incredibly valuable: home advantage. For the first time ever, the World Cup will be played mostly on American soil. The players won't have to travel across the world. The stadiums will be packed with American supporters. The atmosphere will be unlike anything U.S. soccer has ever experienced. And history shows something interesting. Host nations often perform above expectations. This might be the most talented generation American soccer has ever produced. Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah, Anthony Robinson. These aren't players who grew up watching Europe from a distance. They're players who built careers inside Europe's biggest leagues. And perhaps that's the biggest difference. Previous generations dreamed about competing. This generation believes it belongs. Now imagine something starts happening. Pulisic enters the tournament in the form of his life. Tyler Adams dominates midfield. The defense becomes incredibly organized. Young players start playing without fear. The team wins its opening match, then the second. Suddenly, the entire country starts paying attention. Because Americans love a winner, and they especially love an underdog. You can almost feel it happening. Sports shows start talking about soccer. People who haven't watched a single soccer match all year suddenly know every player's name. And then the tournament enters the knockout stage. That's where legends are made. Round of 16. A tense match. 90 minutes isn't enough. Extra time isn't enough. Penalties? The stadium can barely breathe. The goalkeeper makes one save, then another. The final penalty goes in. The United States survive. Now people are paying attention. Quarterfinal. Millions of Americans are watching. Bars are full. Late in the game, America breaks forward. One chance, one shot, goal. The United States are going to the semifinals. At this point, the country starts feeling something unusual. Belief. Because impossible stories suddenly don't feel impossible anymore. Then comes the semifinal. America against one of football's giants. Maybe France, maybe Argentina. The experts predict the end. The rest of the football world thinks the magic run is over, but sports are cruel to predictions. The match is tied. America attacks. The ball finds Pulisic. He slips a pass, a shot, goal. The stadium erupts. The United States are going to the World Cup final. And suddenly, Nothing else matters. For 4 days, America talks about soccer. Every news network covers it. Every sports show debates it. The president wishes the team luck. Celebrities wear USA jerseys. Social media becomes completely consumed by one question: can they actually do it? Then the final arrives. 90 minutes that could redefine an entire sport. The match is tense. Nobody wants to make a mistake. The game is tied, 87th minute. The stadium is shaking. One last attack. The ball reaches Christian Pulisic. One touch, another. He cuts inside, he shoots. Silence. The net moves. Goal. The referee blows the whistle. The United States have won the FIFA World Cup. And at that exact moment, American sports history changes forever. Times Square becomes one giant celebration. People flood the streets in New York. Los Angeles erupts. Chicago erupts. Dallas erupts. Miami erupts. Sports bars overflow. Fireworks explode across the country. Strangers hug each other. People cry because they don't just feel like their team won. They feel like they witnessed history. The next morning might be even crazier. Every newspaper, every television channel, every sports website, one story: America won the World Cup. And then the rest of the world reacts. Brazil is stunned. England is speechless. Argentina can't believe it, because for more than a century, football belonged to traditional powers. Now the world's largest sports market has joined the club. The sleeping giant has woken up, and the consequences could last for decades. Because winning the World Cup wouldn't simply create one incredible night, it would change American soccer forever. Sponsors would pour billions into the game. TV ratings would explode. Youth participation would surge. MLS clubs would attract more investment. Soccer academies would grow. And perhaps most importantly, millions of children would suddenly have a new dream. Some of the best young athletes in America, kids who might have chosen football, basketball, or baseball, would decide they want to become soccer players instead. That's how sporting revolutions begin. One generation watches history, the next generation tries to repeat it. 20 years later, people might still remember exactly where they were when America won the World Cup. The same way people remember iconic Super Bowls, the same way people remember Olympic gold medals. Moments that become part of a country's identity. And maybe that's why this scenario is so fascinating. Because right now, it still feels impossible. But sports have a strange habit of turning impossible ideas into unforgettable memories. And somewhere in America tonight, there's a kid kicking a soccer ball in the backyard. Dreaming about wearing the national team jersey, dreaming about scoring in a World Cup final, dreaming about lifting that trophy. And if the impossible somehow happens in 2026, that dream won't seem impossible anymore. It'll seem real. And that might be the biggest victory of all.